Yesterday night provided a moment that no one could have predicted in a world where reality TV is driven by shock value. Their claims that they were caught in a furious dispute with Evelyn, who is notorious for having a sharp temper and not putting up with betrayal, caused rumors to explode on social media. Not just any meeting. The cause, a mutual lover and a contentious evening that supporters say has already been broken down frame by frame. The noise level seems overwhelming, albeit we're not claiming this is true. Those who saw the live event said they noticed a significant shift in Ty's behavior. Her voice cut through the din, demanding answers. Evelyn's composed, almost arrogant actions that simply fueled the fires. With every camera in the room focused on the two women standing inches apart and poised to blow up, the mood was tense. In a matter of seconds, followers on social media were responding in a wide range of ways, from incredulity to indignation. Was the crowning treachery discovered in the act? Or was this a miscommunication? In any event, it set the stage for one of the most tumultuous evenings in the history of both the crowd and the program. Even before Ty entered, the area was humming. When she did, however, there was a noticeable change in the atmosphere. It seemed like everyone in the room was watching her. Every hushed exchange came to an abrupt halt. Others subsequently said that in addition to the astonishment, you could feel the heat radiating from her, as if she had a storm of emotions brewing within her chest that was ready to blow. She glanced around the room before concentrating on Evelyn, who was unwinding. At the far end of the couch, one leg is crossed over the other. There was not the slightest trace of a grin on her face. Since the previous evening, rumors had been circulating. However, no one anticipated things to spiral out of control. The actual fuel for the fire was the alleged sex he had had with Evelyn a few days before. But the topic of discussion quickly turned to a man who both women had some kind of interaction with. While some who saw the live footage said they saw enough body language to know something was occurring, the producers were captivated. The tension increased like a drumbeat while the microphone remained hot and the camera zoomed in. No stopping was possible. Ty didn't take long. She walked carefully across the room. Her heels pounded the floor in a perfect rhythm as she took deliberate steps. Strongly, but with a glass cutting edge, she said. Even with the crew members in the background, the room was still. "It depends," Evelyn remarked in a painfully calm voice. "Evelyn, do you have anything you'd like to say to me?" Evelyn's eyelids slowly raised and she shrugged, a move that might have enraged an already tense person. "Are we discussing the truth or your interpretation of events?" Ty's eyes narrowed as she came closer. Her voice dropped to be heard only by the microphones in the front row. The audience gasped, and those in the back choked back, laughing. Not because they were laughing, but because they were so taken aback by Evelyn's audacity. "Do you really think I didn't know where you were 2 nights ago? Have you never heard of what?" After silently watching the entire event with wide eyes, Chantel finally leaned forward, her eyes wide, but Ty interrupted her with a raised hand. "Maybe we should," she said, but Evelyn did not flinch. "People have always talked about Ty, but you should know better than to believe every rumor." One of the cast members shifted uneasily in their seat, obviously undecided about whether to stay or intervene. "You sat there with him in public, and you knew exactly how this would look. You did it even though you knew what others would say." The live audience was captivated. The collective could almost be heard. "Breathe. I'm waiting for Evelyn's response." "No," Ty said, her voice rising. "This will not be disregarded under Theog." Ty's response was instantaneous, and the line was slap-like. Her voice rose to a near screech as the words came out more quickly than even she had anticipated. She got so close that there wasn't much space between them. "We've played this game long enough for you and I to know that nothing lasts. If we're being honest, Ty, it's private. If you were paying him a bit more attention, maybe he wouldn't have been looking for company elsewhere," she asked. Just off frame, a factory worker shuffled uneasily, obviously prepared to intervene if things got out of hand. A moment later, online watchers contended that this was the crucial time. The live feed's chat section exploded. While some fans take sides, others strike out. Some have referred to Evelyn's poise as the ultimate power move. Hashtags gained popularity as viewers shared slow motion, replays, and video of the two women's nuanced facial expressions throughout the event. However, compared to online discussion, it seemed that the stakes were larger in Theorium. This was not only a man, relating to history and verbal arguments that had been building for some months. Those with knowledge of the matter claim that although this was not their first run-in, it was the most widely reported. Every cast member was forced to choose a side due to the betrayal. Even when everything was real or imagined, Evelyn remained calm. She whispered, "Ty," her voice almost too quiet for the microphones. "They win because you're letting Ty laugh, but not in a playful way. The voices are taking over your life. If you really believed in him and in yourself, then all of this would be meaningless." It echoed off the walls of the studio, bitter and harsh. Avoid portraying yourself as a victim in this situation. That night, you knew exactly what you were doing. Then a murmur about pictures emerged from the other side of the room. Ty's head then turned. "Images? Which pictures?" She made a demand. A dense silence, the kind that makes your skin quiver, descended upon the room. For the first time, Ty could sense that the narrative was more convoluted than she had previously thought as Evelyn's gaze darted. The producers glanced at one another, knowing that the drama was just getting started, as the two women in the middle of the chaos came into sharper focus on the cameras. Time seemed to stop for a second. Everyone in holding their breath. Everyone in the room awaits the next discovery that will destroy whatever remains of the fragile. She peered at Evelyn, searching for any trace of regret on her face, her eyes unbreakable. Like a poker player who has played for too long to provide any information. Calm. Ty's single quotes were utilized because the question hung in the air like a storm cloud about to burst. The little flash knot she'd seen earlier still gave her confidence that she wasn't dreaming. Evelyn did not want anybody, not even herself, to be aware of this. Before anybody could respond, Chantel shifted uneasily in her chair and fixed her gaze on the cameras. The rawness and unadulterated nature of this moment was becoming apparent. Perhaps this isn't when she started. However, Ty interrupted abruptly, her voice trembling with restrained anger. "No, Sean said that now is the right moment. Do you think I should wait till the cameras are off? Do you believe that? I will allow her to go without explaining the actual events." The audience grumbled uneasily, as if a revelation were about to happen. Before Evelyn's words vanished into a perilous silence, Ty took a step toward her. "Evelyn, what pictures are they referring to?" "Because you shouldn't have gone anywhere with him. If I find out and there's evidence, I won't keep back." Evelyn's eyes narrowed a little. It was too late, but it was a subliminal warning. The microphones in the distant corner picked up Sumian's speech clearly. "They are discussing the photos that were taken on the roof." The remarks seemed to strike a chord, and everyone's focus abruptly changed simultaneously. Ty's head jerked in the direction of the speaker. "Pictures from the roof. Which rooftop photos?" she insisted. Even the workers froze at the severity of her tone. Enough footage was captured of one of the makeup artists who had obviously been attempting to avoid it. The drama whispered to someone next to her to elicit additional inquiries. He was late next to her. Champagne's face was one of wrath and disbelief. Ty turned back to Evelyn. "Don't tell me that. Tell me you weren't on the rooftop with him." At last, Evelyn moved in her chair. She spoke in a hushed, hard voice. She leaned forward and uncrossed her legs as well. "You're behaving as like you own him, like he was yours, Ty. He loses because he really makes his own decisions. Perhaps you need to inquire as to why he decided to stay with me overnight." The collective shout of the audience was loud, even as a number of people snatched up their phones and began hurriedly texting friends and followers about what was happening. Living with them, someone in the rear muttered, "Oh, she went there." Dot is now both hurt and furious. Ty's voice increased as she shook. "Do you wish to discuss your choices with someone? How about loyalty? How about a little decency? You believe this is okay, Evelyn, even though you've known me for a long time. Don't pretend you're not guilty." Evelyn retorted, her voice a little less composed than before. "You know how to tie knots. You have gone beyond your limits. The difference is that I don't act like the victim when I'm apprehended. The difference is that I don't act like the victim when I'm apprehended." The air in the room appeared to have been drawn out by the intense tension between them. I attempted to go to the middle of the space between them, but Ty hurried past her, completely enclosing the space. "One. Ty growled as he sliced behind my back. "You've been grinning in my face, and it seems like you think I'll just sit here and take it." "Well, Ty, I'm not sneaking around," Evelyn said as she stood there with the two women almost face to face, their voices overlapping in passionate screams. "You have no influence on my life. You call it living your life. It's what I call betrayal." The disbelieving tone of Ty's voice was repeated. The crowd took in every sentence, fans closely examining every word, every look, and every little change in body language. The online discussion section was ablaze with comments, some of which praised Ty and others who praised Evelyn's unrepentant attitude. Hashtags were already widely used. However, a manufacturing worker who was obviously attempting to calm the situation by bringing a tablet to the scene surprised the actual Ty Dot. Ty grabbed the tablet and looked at the screen, and whatever she saw caused her lips to separate in silence. They spoke to her. "You should see this." A moment of wonder. When she swung the screen to the audience, there were further gasps. The hazy but familiar image showed Evelyn with the man in question on a dark rooftop. They clutched champagne flutes, and their faces were too close together to be mistaken for innocence at the moment. Evelyn didn't even flinch when Chase remarked, "You wanted proof. There it is. So what?" she said. "But it doesn't change the fact that he isn't your property, and that you were more than willing to let him be with anybody he chose." A dot. Ty spit back. Even Evelyn's self-assured defense seemed to waver for a second, but she maintained her position, her eyes on Ty, as if challenging her to speak further. The audience understood they were seeing something fall apart. As the drama reached its peak, the producers decided not to break away, instead keeping the cameras focused on their faces and catching every moment of, "You've made your choice? Evelyn!" Now accept it, because Ty's hands curled into fists at her sides, but she chose to back off instead, her voice abruptly softer but no less angry. Evelyn's eyes focused on her as if nothing had ever occurred before, and the already tense situation became even more so as Ty made a single step toward her. Pride, long-standing animosity, and years of history all boiled over into one explosive clash that neither woman could escape unaltered. This was more than simply a battle over a guy. When the audience recognized that something seismic was happening, they held their breath in suspense as two eruptions dropped quietly. The lover. Marcus shifted uncomfortably as he stood a few feet back, as if every moment in the limelight was a nail in his coffin. The collision of pride, betrayal, and a history of unresolved grievances was broken by Ty's voice, which was low and serene at first. This had been personal and was no longer simply about a relationship. A hole may be burned through her. Discover how Ty is related to me. It simply fanned the flames, and she isn't even disputing it. Her daring caused the audience to gasp, and many phones lifted to film every second. Ty stepped forward again while someone in the back mumbled loudly enough for cameras to capture. "Out?" she inquired in a disbelieving tone. Evelyn tilted her head and grinned, her composure almost inspiring more anger. With his hands up like a referee between fighters, Marcus attempted to intervene. "Monsieur Marcus informed me that you were very theatrical. You call spending the night in his hotel room," she said, her voice increasing between them, practically cracking as Ty gently pulled him away, adding, "Don't. Not right now." She warned then, as the insult hit hard and made his face flush, fans would slow down the video to see the precise moment when Ty's expression changed from controlled rage to something much more deadly. At last, attention security, who had been edging closer for minutes, stepped in as Ty sprang forward with a forceful shove to Evelyn's shoulder rather than a full swing, sending her reeling back a step, and her quiet, almost mocking chuckle made Ty's jaw tighten. "Don't give yourself enough credit, in my opinion." However, Evelyn quickly regained her footing and stepped back into Ty's space, and the two now towed to the side as the chamber exploded into commotion. Chantel emerged, staring at Marcus, who was now standing motionless with a pale face, and her expression was a mixture of astonishment and something else. She muttered to him, either in satisfaction or fear, "You need to fix this," but the shouting match between Ty and Evelyn drowned out her words. With a somewhat shaky voice, Ty said, "You're a liar, because you've been smiling in my face and moving covertly." Marcus began to stutter something about miscommunications, but Evelyn interrupted him, saying, "You've been too busy playing cute to notice when someone else is paying attention to him, so he came to me." "Please don't let anything happen," she pleaded, pointing to Marcus. Jackie went nearer after maintaining a careful distance, attempting to use her voice to cut through the confusion as Ty's shoulders swayed with every breath and her hands balled into fists at her sides. "Don't do that here, Ty Dot," Jackie said. "It's not the proper time or place." That statement, which implied that Marcus had sought comfort from Evelyn's presence since Ty wasn't there for him, rattled the crowd like fuel to an already raging fire. The room erupted again with audience yells, lightning-fast camera flashes, and the hum of the live broadcast. But Ty wasn't listening. "Oh, that's the exact moment. And location," she shot back. "Let everyone see her true snake nature." Security finally managed to position themselves between the two women, but neither seemed willing to make concessions. Evelyn spoke calmly and solemnly as she leaned over the guard's shoulder. Perhaps you wouldn't be in this situation if you had treated him well. Within minutes, the fierce and immediate division had spread to every platform. When the shouting died down enough for voices to be heard again, Marcus finally attempted to speak. "You two stop. You're aggravating the situation." Some supporters called for Evelyn to be removed right away, while others defended Ty's response and others pressed Marcus to explain. Of taunts from Ty, who claimed that Evelyn had singled her out to garner attention, Evelyn simply shrugged, which at the time may have been more anger than a genuine response. Chantel whispered something into Jackie's ear, captured on camera in a pivotal moment, and Jackie's next move was to yank Marcus away and speak to him in a voice so low that he couldn't hear it. "Mike Gotti saw right away? You have your little that council over there. Getting ready for your next deception." The optics were poor, but Marcus shook his head, she said, gesturing to the three of them. The producers released it without trying to divert attention or cut to commercial, knowing that every moment of this was pure drama and that the replay value would be enormous. She stood across the room, still in shock over the betrayal. Even those who weren't directly engaged now appeared to move too swiftly due to the high level of stress, as though one movement may set off another explosion. Then, at the perfect moment, Evelyn delivered her last pronouncement of the evening, deadly enough to cut through the cacophony, but delicate enough to be inconspicuous. "Perhaps you ought to find out where he was." It had an instant impact the previous evening. As a whole pushed forward, waiting for the next revelation, Ty paused as she understood, her brow furrowing the audience. The air is thicker, the lights are harsher, and the truth, or whatever it was that was supposed to be revealed, hangs just out of grasp. Marcus's eyes veered away, reluctant to meet hers, and the room appeared to contract around them. Ty's breath caught in her chest the night before last as Evelyn's words replayed in her mind. The statement calmed her as she repeated it silently. Her thoughts instantly went to Marcus's late-night text about taking care of business, the quiet, his evasive reasons, and how conveniently his phone had been on. She had brushed it aside at the moment, though she told herself that being paranoid would only cause him to look away. Every last glimmer of uncertainty she had repressed suddenly returned as Evelyn's eyes were fixed on hers like a predator relishing its prey. What is she discussing? The tense mood was cut through with each statement in Ty's low, piercing voice. Aka stood up and stroked the back of his neck in a manner that showed his shame to everyone. He shouted in a rising voice, "Don't do this here, Ka," and she said it again, "Is this something you've been doing behind my back?" "So, I think this is exactly where we do it," the crowd whispered. "I was with a friend and nothing more, a friend." As Evelyn stood with her, arms crossed and a tiny smile on her face, phones angled forward, capturing every detail. Marcus tried to control his tone as he tugged at her lips, obviously enjoying the chaos she had. Caused. A Ty laughed without humor, like the friend who is currently standing next to you after she jerked her chin in her direction. Jackie added abruptly, "Marcus, if you have nothing to hide, just say where you were," adding to the frantic atmosphere as the crowd erupted in half-excited cries and half-screams. Marcus flinched at the directness of her question, which was exactly what Ty needed to reassure him. "Wow," Ty whispered, her voice shaking, not out of weakness, but from the immense effort it was taking to keep her screams in check. "You didn't even pause the grace to lie quickly enough," Ty added. Evelyn tilted her head, still staring at Ty. The words landed like a grenade in the middle of the room, and there were whispers, heads turning, and cameras focusing on Ty's face as she looked from person to person, trying to read the truth. Chantel, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. "Evelyn, you don't have to play this game. Just say the name," Evelyn said. "You want to hear it from me? Okay, he was with someone else that night instead of me. Okay, she's also closer than you think. Evelyn, you're manipulating this, am I?" she shot back. "Or are you just angry that the truth is now coming to light after being concealed for so long?" Marcus's jaw tensed as I made sure Ty understood the kind of man she was defending. The stress was unbearable. Her voice was really calm. "I'm not here to keep her safe, discover who Evelyn might be referring to. She considered friends, family, co-workers, and other people. Her stomach lurched at the possibility that someone she trusted might be involved. When Renee's longtime friend stepped forward, her face unreadable, everyone turned to face her. Ty's heart fell to her stomach and her voice was barely audible above a whisper. The words triggered a series of events that included screams, gasps, and phones returning to recording mode. "Renee," she whispered, and after a long silence during which the crowd began whispering behind her, she added, "We didn't prepare for it." Ty's face turned white, and her lips opened, but she didn't make a sound. Marcus reached out to her, but as if his touch were burning, she retreated. "You," Ty murmured, her voice breaking. "I apologize," Renee hurriedly added. "But you were. You held my baby at my house last week. Ty, you were sitting at my table." Her eyes glistened almost happily, but the noise of the crowd made the words seem meaningless. Evelyn stood back and observed the proceedings. Jackie intervened because she knew that, "This is leaving hand," she said. "You came into my life like a sister." But no one was listening anymore. She had planned the ideal surprise, but the harm had already been done despite efforts to defuse the situation. "You allowed it to occur," Ty said in a low but lethal voice, gesturing at Marcus with shaking hands. "You were locked on Renee, every ounce of her betrayal radiating through her trembling frame." Marcus began to apologize, but he was unable to do so at that time. Rather, she started to go away but halted at the door. Her voice broke through the muddle. "Stay out of my life, you two." The crowd was no longer only onlookers. They were really there when the implosion happened. I was watching Ty intently with every camera lens, anticipating her next outburst or collapse. As she disappeared on stage, the noise level in the room soared. Pitch, leaving Renee, Evelyn, and Marcus standing amid the debris of the earlier event. The truth hung thick in the air, with no chance of ever being buried again. That's it. What started out as a fun-filled evening turned into one of the most dramatic reality TV scenarios we've ever seen. "Also," she said, looking at Evelyn, "you'd better hope we never cross paths again." Starts with Evelyn's calculated disclosure and ends with a startling admission. Obviously, relationships that we take for granted have been shattered in front of millions of people. Since Ty left with her dignity, fan reactions are already dominating social media. Some have referred to her as a queen, while others have questioned why Evelyn started the fight in the first place. Others have accused Marcus of publicly betraying her trust. Was this all about getting even with the consequences, or was she attempting to protect Ty? It's not quite over yet. Questions have been raised about who knew what and when. Friendships have ended. Relationships are in ruins. And whether Ty will recover stronger than before. Whether this betrayal will leave scars too deep to heal. Whether Renee or Marcus will ever receive the criticism they deserve. Or whether the drama will be ignored until the next controversy arises. Would you like to share your thoughts? Did Evelyn go too far by revealing everything in public? Or do you think she was right to tell the truth? Please feel free to share your thoughts, and the stories we're hearing are real. So hit the alert button and subscribe to the channel. This storm is just the beginning of something much bigger. If you were as shocked as we were, remember to like this video. This will ensure that you don't miss another incredible moment like this one. Temperament? Best. Best.